Good day, learners. This is your accounting teacher, Sir AJ, and welcome back to my channel. So for today, we will be discussing a financial accounting topic, and this is the part 2 of financial instruments. But for this video, we will be discussing how to measure fair value in accordance with PFRS 13. So if you are now ready to learn about PFRS 13, then this video is just right for you. So, good day again, learners. As what I mentioned kanina, we will be discussing the part 2 of financial instruments, focusing on fair value measurements. In this video, we will focus on PFRS 13, the standard titled Fair Value Measurement. So, we will discuss how to measure fair value. First, we will first discuss the scope and rationale of PFRS 13. So, for the scope of PFRS 13, it applies when another PFRS requires or permits fair value measurements and or disclosures about fair value measurements. Example, yung PFRS 9, 'di ba? Nagre-require siya ng measurement of fair value. So, if you wanna know how to measure fair value, then you can use PFRS 13. However, PFRS 13 do not apply to the following. First, share-based payment transactions because they are under PFRS 2. Number 2, leasing transactions under PFRS 16. Measurements that appear similar to fair value but which are not the same, such as net realizable value nung sa inventory past 2 and value in use when we talked about impairment sa past 36. So how does PFRS 13 define fair value? Fair value is the price that would be received to sell an asset or paid to transfer a liability in an orderly transaction between market participants at the measurement date. So take note that received to sell an asset or paid to transfer a liability. Kaya nga, this is referred to as exit price. In the past definition of fair value, very different to kasi yung past definition is more of entry price yung explanation. So, for the new definition, it's more of an exit price. As to the market participants, the buyers and the sellers of the market, either the principal market or the most advantageous. We will explain later anong difference ng principal market versus most advantageous market have all the following characteristics. First, independent sila sa isa't isa, meaning they're not related parties. Number 2, they are knowledgeable. They have reasonable understanding about the asset and the liability and the transaction. Number 3, they have the ability to enter into the transaction. And number 4, they are willing to enter into a transaction. As to orderly transaction, this is a transaction that assumes exposure to the market for a period before the measurement date to allow for marketing activities that are usual and customary for transactions involving such assets or liabilities. It is not a forced transaction. Example, forced liquidation or a distress sale. So, kaya siya orderly. So, this is the most important discussion in this standard. How do we measure fair value? So, in measuring fair value, we need to take note of the following definitions. First, the principal market. The principal market is the market with the greatest volume and level of activity for the asset or liability. So kung saan pinaka marami yung volume at level of activity for that certain asset or liability, that is the principal market. While on the other hand, the most advantageous market is the market that maximizes the amount that would be received to sell the asset or minimizes the amount that would be paid to transfer the liability after taking into account transaction costs and transport costs. So the most advantageous market, kapag asset yan, yung pinakamalaking amount na matatanggap mo after deducting transaction costs and transport costs from the market price. Pero sa liability naman, ito yung mga pinakamaliit na amount after adding transaction cost and transport cost sa amount na babayaran mo. So, depende siya kung ano ang klase ng fair value na minimeasure mo, either asset or liability. Now, transaction costs are cost to sell an asset or transfer a liability for the asset or liability that are directly attributable to the disposal of the asset or the transfer of liability and meet the following criteria. They result directly from and are essential to that transaction, and they would not have been incurred had the decision to sell the asset or transfer the liability not been made. So, importante sila. Kaya they are called transaction costs. On the other hand, transport costs are the costs that would be incurred to transport an asset from its current location to the principal or most advantageous market. So again, transaction costs and transport costs are considered when looking for the most advantageous market. So to measure fair value, it is based on the market price of the asset in the principal market. So kung merong principal market, whatever is the market price there, yun ang fair value niya. Pero pag walang principal market, then the fair value is based on the market price dun sa most advantageous market. So, principal market muna, in the absence of it, most advantageous market. And then, the market price used in measuring fair value is not adjusted for any transaction cost, but adjusted for any transport cost. So, to get the fair value, we adjust for transport cost but not transaction cost. So, example, Odette Company has an asset that is required by the standards to be measured at fair value. The asset is sold in two different active markets. Odette Company has access to both of these markets. Information on these markets is shown below. So, meron tayong market price, transaction cost, and transport cost for active market 1 and active market 2. So, first case, what if the active market 1 is the principal market? So, if active market 1 is the principal market, kasi dun mas malaki yung volume of activity, then we use that market. No need to compute for the most advantageous. So, to get the fair value, it's simple. Just the market price of market 1, that's 150 after adjusting transport cost, 10 pesos. So, the fair value is 140 pesos. What if walang principal market? So, if market 1 and market 2, walang principal market sa kanilang dalawa, then we need to look for the most advantageous market. So that's the first step. Again, what is a most advantageous market? Dahil asset to, ito yung that would maximize the amount received to sell an asset after considering transaction and transport costs. So in computing most advantageous market, we get the market price, and we deduct transaction cost and transport cost. So, ang nakuha natin is 122 sa market 1 at 125 sa market 2. Dahil mas malaki sa market 2, that means market 2 is the most advantageous. Take note, active market 2 is the most advantageous market. But, hindi po 125 ang fair value. There is another computation for the fair value. Dahil alam na natin na ang market 2 ang most advantageous, then the fair value is the market price after deducting only transport cost. Again, in computing fair value, we do not consider transaction cost. So the fair value is 137. So in computing fair value, only transport cost is considered as adjustment. Pero sa pag-compute kung sino ang most advantageous, we consider the two. So don't forget about that. So the last topic is about fair value hierarchy. So sa PFRS 13, it talks about a hierarchy from the most reliable fair value basis up to the least reliable. So there are three inputs or three levels. First is yung level 1. These are quoted prices in active markets for identical assets or liabilities that the entity can access at the measurement date. So ito yung pinaka-reliable, yung quoted price in active market. Pag wala yan, then you go to level 2 input. that is input other than quoted prices included within level 1 that are observable for the asset or liability either directly or indirectly. Pwede naman to pero lesser yung reliability niya kesa sa level 1. And the least reliable is level 3. Pag wala level 1, wala rin level 2, then level 3 is unobservable inputs for the asset or liability. They are developed using the best available assumptions that would be used for the purposes of pricing the asset or liability. So that would be all for today. That is our discussion for PFRS 13 fair value measurement. Now it's your time to test your knowledge. If you know the answers to these questions, comment your answers sa video na to. Question number 1, which of the following is true for measuring an asset at fair value? A, the price of the asset should be adjusted for transaction cost. B, the fair value of the asset should be adjusted for cost to sell. C, the fair value is based upon an entry price to purchase the asset. Or D, the price should be adjusted for transportation cost to transport the asset to its principal market. And question number 2, there are multiple active markets for a financial asset with different observable market prices. Market A, quoted price is 76, transaction cost is 5. Market B, quoted price is 74, transaction cost is 2. There is no principal market for the financial asset. What is the fair value of the asset? A, 71, B, 72, C, 74, or D, 76. So again, if you know the answers, comment your answers down below. So thank you very much guys for listening and watching this video. If you have any questions, you may message me in my social media accounts. Again, sa lahat pa ng nakakalimot, please do subscribe to my channel and please do like, comment, and share this video para makita rin siya ng iba nating mga classmates, friends who are aspiring to become CPAs in the future. So thank you very much guys, and always remember that every day is an opportunity for us to learn something new. So that would be all for today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!